Hey guys, welcome back, and this is going to be my first in a series of beginning guide to coffee. And what I'm wanting to talk about today is the coffee itself, what kind of stuff you need to get to have the best. And these are kind of my top 4, technically 5 things I look for in coffee when I'm going out trying to find the best stuff. As you can see behind me, this is just some stuff I've picked up in my travels, and some of it's still awesome, some of it is not, and I'll kind of go through why. But the first thing when you're buying coffee is you should buy whole bean coffee and grind it right before you're about to brew the coffee. And I don't really have any grinds, but I've got static anyway. Why you want to get whole beans is basically oxygen is like coffee's killer. It destroys the good stuff of coffee. Once you've roasted the bean and then expose it to air, everything that makes that coffee awesome slowly is fading away. And the experts, I guess, they claim that coffee is good for about a week after it's roasted. I don't know about that because I've had some pretty dang good coffees a month or 2, sometimes maybe even 3 at most. Is it as good as the first week after it was roasted? No. But is it terrible? Not really. So get whole beans, because once they're ground up, whole beans, you've maybe got a couple weeks if you just let them sit out exposed before they start going stale. If you grind them up, you're looking at within hours, even being enclosed in a bag. It's basically like more air is hitting more surface area of the coffee, which is making it speed up the process of going bad. So buy roasted whole bean coffee. Secondly is the roast date. Now, none of my coffees really are store-bought except for this one, Peet's Coffee, and I only get this really for my espresso machine because it makes really awesome espresso. And most coffees, when you go to the store, they have I don't know if you can see that, best purchase by date. And they'll tell you, like this one says 11/19/14. But when you're going to like a Starbucks or your local grocery store and you're buying coffee like Folgers, 8 o'clock, whatever, who knows how long that stuff's been sitting on the shelf, honestly. For a couple of reasons. One, they're mass roasting this coffee, and so you're not getting the best, freshest stuff by the time it hits the store. So that's one problem. And the second problem is it's been sitting on the shelf for who knows how long. And then the other thing is, if it's got a best purchase by date, that's according to them when it's not necessarily bad to drink it past it, but the coffee's not as good or whatever. Well, honestly, it's now probably been 3, 4, 5, 6 months or longer. And a lot of these stores you go into, they do not rotate their product. So you'll find the fresh stuff up at the front, the older stuff sitting at the back, and then if they haven't restocked it in a while, you're grabbing the stuff that's been sitting there for a long time, and that's bad. So I always try to find stuff that's locally roasted somewhere in town. I find a coffee shop. Typically a bunch of hipsters are hanging out there, and they roast on site, and you can talk to them. And what they'll do, and this one actually does, it says roasted on, and that's actually pretty old coffee for me on August, 21st. But it'll do what I need it to do for my espresso. It's more for testing than anything. Let me see. This isn't too far out. This one says roasted on September 16th. I always try to actually buy my coffee roasted within days of when I'm buying it. So that's a little harder to find sometimes. But if you can find coffee that was roasted the day of, the day after, whenever you bought it, within that week time frame, you're going to get amazing coffee. Like this stuff smells awesome still because it's fresher than this stuff. So you're going to get a better coffee than out of this one, even though this one's okay. And then the second thing, I've kind of got a list because my in-laws went to Seattle a while back and they said, hey, we want to get you some coffee. I said, hold on, before you just grab some coffee, let me give you some list here of what to look for. And this right here is just a personal preference, is a lighter roast. And the reason why is I think a lighter roast kind of reflects the actual coffee. It highlights the notes of what the coffee is supposed to taste like. Like if it has, for an example, like a Yirgacheffe, that's a kind of coffee, has a blueberry note. And if it's really fresh and roasted right, you will actually taste blueberry in the cup of coffee. So I like the lighter roast. And the other thing, for instance, Major Dickinson's blend, they call it full-bodied. Now, I don't know all the ins and outs of Peet's Coffee, but a lot of these companies that will say full-bodied, French roast, dark roast, whatever, what they're really doing is covering up for the fact that they bought some bad beans. And you've got two kinds of beans. You've got Arabica and you've got Robusta. Arabica is what you really want. Robusta is kind of the lower grade coffee. And a lot of times they're covering up for the fact that their beans are not the best. So they roast it darker and then market it to the public, hoping we're stupid enough to buy into their marketing. And they say it's a French roast, it's a dark roast, when all they're doing is burning all the good stuff out of the beans. And now you're just left with bad, chalky coffee. So that's just a personal preference. I have had a few darker roasts that I actually like, but I really don't like getting super dark on coffees because I think you're taking away the good flavor of a coffee like this that's got all these bright, awesome notes that you're just missing out if you burn the coffee. And then secondly is just kind of where the coffee's from. And really this is preference. But a lot of coffees I like are Guatemalans, some Brazilians, Panama, Ethiopia, Yemen, what else is there? Costa Rica, El Salvador, any of the African countries, South American countries, and there's a few countries kind of in the, the islands, what is it, Sumatra and stuff. They do make some, but those aren't my favorites. If you find coffees that are like that or blend of those, and Mexico makes some good coffees, Hawaii, some of them are pretty awesome. But the thing to note is coffee is a produce. So when you're going out there looking for coffee, feel free to just experiment and try from different regions because you'll be really surprised at the flavor profiles that change. One will taste more earthy. Another one will taste more fruity. Another one might taste real smooth and dark and kind of chocolatey. So it's really cool to kind of try different coffees. And lastly, if you have no idea what to look for, go to your local coffee shop where all the hipsters hang out and you know they roast their coffee. Go up to the barista and say, hey, what coffee is the best if I just want straight up coffee? And they'll tell you. And if the coffee is really good, I always say if the coffee is good itself, you should not have to add cream or sugar to it. It will be naturally sweet on its own. It will not be bitter if it was made correctly and roasted right. And so ask a barista. And that's pretty much it for beginner coffee. So buy whole beans. Find out if it actually has a roast date on it. Try a lighter roast. It might not be up to your taste. And look for certain countries like Colombia, Ethiopia, Guatemala, Panama, El Salvador, Costa Rica. Any of those countries produce amazing cups of coffee. Make sure it's Arabica beans, not Robusta. And if you're not sure, ask a barista. So that's pretty much my beginner series. I'll talk more in depth on grinding, size, particles, and stuff like that, and different brew methods as we go along. But to start you out, the good stuff is not going to be found in a box. Not in a box store anyway, like a Walmart or local grocery store typically. It's going to be at a local farmer's market, at a small coffee shop that they roast their own beans, or you might have to order it like Charming Beard Coffee and where is it? Sump Coffee. These two were ordered by my sister and mailed to me from them, and it was awesome. It was like super fresh when I got it 2 days after they roasted it, and that's what you want. So those are going to be the best coffees. Not Folgers, not 8 o'clock, not Maxwell House, not even Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts, I'm sorry. Those are not going to be the best coffees as far as freshness goes. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. But I thought some of this information would help, and I hope I made it clear, and I hope you guys have a blessed day and drink some awesome coffee. So have a good one. See ya.